In February of this year, I had a Kundalini Awakening. Okay, get in here. This is Cosmic Road, where I discuss UFOs and the paranormal. Today it's going to have a more spiritual bent to it. So get in here. This is going to be very interesting. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. It's had a profound impact on me. Before I get too far into it, please hit like, please subscribe. If you do subscribe, please hit the bell next to it to be notified of future videos. Please help share on social media. And as I'm going through it, let me know what you think about all this. This is pretty crazy. So what is a Kundalini Awakening? Yeah, some might be wanting to know that. Well, Kundalini is a word that comes from a Hindu tradition, and much about what we understand of Kundalini energy and a Kundalini awakening comes from the Hindus. I am not Hindu, and I am not a Hindu scholar, so I'm not going to get too far into it. But according to their school of thought, and I've talked about different modalities before and how there are different phenomena that seem to occur that have different modalities. I believe that Kundalini and Kundalini awakenings are among those things. So, but that aside, the Hindus did develop this this understanding of Kundalini awakenings and what Kundalini is. And it is, according to them, it is this feminine goddess that is within all of us. And this Kundalini energy, this goddess energy, is nestled at the base of our spine, and it rises to meet this male energy, this male god that comes down from our crown chakra. And that is the Kundalini awakening, which classically results in your third eye opening in a enlightenment with a capital E. So when you have this cosmic awareness. Now, until recently, I was an atheist. Until about 3 or 4 years ago, I was an atheist. All my life, didn't believe in any of this, didn't believe in UFOs or aliens or any of this. I thought, aliens were probably out there somewhere, but they had not come to Earth yet, because if they had, where are they, right? So, if they hadn't landed on the White House lawn, I wasn't going to believe in them. But that all changed for me when the Navy videos came out. Thank you, Lou Elizondo and TTSA and Chris Mellon and all those guys. And my research led me to Skinwalker Ranch, where E.T.s began. Then I started to look into the spiritual stuff and began, so my whole worldview changed. I thought we lived in a mundane, boring universe, and I'm a novelist. I write science fiction and fantasy books. I thought that the world was pretty boring, and I had to write about the fantastic to bring it into being. Because we lived, again, in a very boring world, in a very boring, non-magical universe. So I had to write about it to make it real, in my own head, and to bring that magic into the world. So, I was really floored to realize that a lot of this stuff, and even beyond what I could imagine, was true. Really incredible. There's aliens, there's magic, there's higher dimension, there's gods, spirits, all sorts of crazy nutty stuff. And, it's all wrapped up in what I call the phenomenon, or the greater phenomenon. Some people specifically call the U.F.O phenomenon the phenomenon. So, so once I got to that point in my research, I started to, I co-founded a ghost hunting team to see if I could actually have real interactions with the beyond, and I did. So, and I'll get into some of that later. Once I had satisfied myself that the spiritual was real and not some artifact of alien technology, I began looking around for ways to develop myself spiritually. I didn't think I had a soul, but, come to find out I have a soul. We all have souls. And so I wanted to develop my soul and to get in touch with myself spiritually in my higher self, and all of that kind of stuff. So one of my ghost hunting buddies was doing Reiki, is doing Reiki, is a Reiki master. And I said, hey, I've heard about Reiki, why don't you do some Reiki on me? And and she did. And it took about an hour, and I was buzzing all day after that. I could feel the energy. I had never felt any mystical or spiritual energy that I was aware of before. And so that just kind of blew my mind. My first touch of magic, or whatever you want to call it. And so shortly after that, I moved to a small town, and I found a Reiki instructor, a really cool lady here in the town that I live. And so I, began this year-long course of learning Reiki. And, now I am a Reiki master. I don't think I'm like the best Reiki master of all time or anything. But anyway, so I started to develop myself spiritually. And over the course of this, I started to have more and more spiritual experiences. And I'm not going to go into all of those today. I just want to talk about the Kundalini Awakening that I had in February. And this is, according to the Hindu tradition, this is a spiritual awakening. And it is a spiritual awakening, but I do think there's different modalities to how all of this works. For me, it was a classic Kundalini awakening, where I was, I'll just tell you the story. I was stoned and playing video games. Man, I knew what a Kundalini awakening was. I was working my way toward it. I wanted a Kundalini awakening, and I was meditating and hoping that that would happen for me someday. I was not meditating at the moment. However, the video game does play an important part in this story, and I will circle back to that in due time. So I was, stoned and playing video games. I came to a point in the video game where I stopped. And that, again, is an important part of the story, and I will get back to that later. I got up, and I moved into my study where I am now, and I sat in this chair where I am sitting now. And as soon as my butt hit the seat, I'm sure that was, my tailbone making contact, stimulating the Kundalini. The Kundalini awakening hit me. And there's these pulses traveling up my spine. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then these feelings started overcoming me. It was an incredible experience. Quickly, I realized that it was a Kundalini awakening because I have read about Kundalini awakening. So I wasn't alarmed. I wasn't scared. I just let it happen. If it had happened a year earlier, I would have freaked out. I would have thought I was having some sort of seizure. I was spasming. I was seizing. It was, yeah. So, like I said, if it had happened earlier, it would not have been a pleasant experience for me. I probably would have been screaming. My wife was in the house, but she was doing her own thing, and she was outside and she was doing her own thing for hours. And I was a little worried because the chair was creaking under me. It needs some WD-40. I keep on applying it, and it keeps on wearing off, and it was creaking. And I was worried that my shaking and my trembling and my spasming was going to draw her attention, and she was going to come into the room and see me spasming and call the ambulance. And I didn't want that to happen because I knew that it was a Kundalini awakening, and I was really excited about it. So I was trying to control my spasming and reduce the creaking of the chair, only to a limited degree. And, the next day I realized that if I had been able to, I could have moved to one of the other chairs. I have 2 chairs next to me for the cats, and I easily could have moved to one of those chairs. However, I wasn't able to move. First of all, I was not able to conceive of moving. I was not able to conceive of anything beyond the experience itself. Yeah, so, and even if I had been able to come up with the idea of moving to another chair, I would not have been physically able to do it. And so, what was it physically like? Well, it was very nice. It was a very nice experience. It was the best experience I had ever had in my life. My Reiki instructor has called it a cosmic orgasm, and that is not wrong. It was incredible. It was not erotic, but it was orgasmic. I wasn't thinking any sexy thoughts. It wasn't like that. It wasn't really even a physical orgasm in that way. So, but it was extremely orgasmic, and but in my soul and in my body. It was amazing. It went on for 5 hours. It was incredible. I kept on thinking my wife would pop in on me and see me seizing, but she never did. I think that whoever arranged this for me arranged for that to happen as well. So a great experience. I knew that the classic ending of a Kundalini awakening was your third eye opening and enlightenment, this cosmic consciousness. And I was waiting for that to happen, and it never happened for me. Since then, I've talked to various people about that have had Kundalini awakenings and that are very spiritual and that have abilities. And they say, well, it may have happened on a more subtle level, and it may be a process that's continuing in me. Also, I may have put some sort of block or shield on myself before coming into this life, lessening my spiritual abilities or my connection for some particular purpose. So, but now that I'm aware of that shield in place, it should begin dissolving, and I should become, and the reason for it, because they explained possible reasons for it, so now that I'm aware of the why the shield is in place, then I can begin connecting better. So we'll see if that happens. My Reiki instructor has had multiple Kundalini awakenings, like 6 or 7 of them, happens regularly for her, and with each one she gets enlightenment. That cosmic consciousness. So, and her third eye is fully open. So, anyway, so I hope that happens for me at some point in the future. I'm working on it. I'm still trying to develop myself spiritually. If I ever have another Kundalini awakening, that'd be fantastic. Whether or not I get enlightenment with that, who knows? But I do hope that happens. I would love it for my third eye to open. Now, a lot of people that do have Kundalini awakenings and have their third eye open, they go through kind of a difficult process afterward. It's a very difficult adjustment for them to see, entities and spirits and see dark clouds of negative energy and spooky things and, all sorts of weird stuff that they see when their third eye is open. So, part of me is grateful that I'm not seeing that. But they also get to talk to angels and higher level beings and their higher self and stuff like that. So, and they can have out-of-body experiences easier. And I very much want to have an out-of-body experience. During my Kundalini awakening, I was half in my body and half out of my body. It was an almost out-of-body experience. Every now and then I would come back to my body, and I would open my eyes and look at my hands and what are these? They seem very far away and very weird. Anyway, it was an incredible experience. So that was the end of my Kundalini awakening. At some point it faded. Now, the next day, instantly, I began doing a lot of research, trying to figure out exactly what had happened to me. Sure, I knew Kundalini awakening, but I had not done a lot of research on it. So I began doing a lot of research on it. and I found a yogi who was of the opinion that a Kundalini awakening could be triggered accidentally by certain drugs like marijuana. So that really worried me, that really bothered me, that maybe I had just triggered this accidentally. And this is where the video game comes in. Now, how could a video game figure into a story of spiritual enlightenment and spiritual awakening? Well, I'll tell you. I was playing the game Doom, the new game. I think it came out in 2017. Not the newest game, but the new remake of the classic game. And so it is, you're fighting demons on Mars. Well, at a certain point, you follow the demons to their home dimension. And you follow the demons to hell. I got distracted for a minute. You follow the demons to hell and you fight them on hell. Well, the game is brilliantly realized. They spent millions of dollars on this thing. The hell environment is brilliantly realized, very beautiful, very terrifying. Well, at a certain point, because I was stoned, I got lost. I killed all the monsters on that level. I couldn't get to the next level, and I couldn't, I missed the exit at some point, and I started going back through this landscape, and from the very beginning, and I was lost in hell for hours. I was just, at the end of it, I was kind of freaked out. So I was lost in this deserted hellscape because I'd killed all the monsters for so long. I didn't even know I was lost. I mean, I couldn't figure out where to go, and I didn't realize why I wasn't able to kill any demons. I didn't know where they had gone because I was so stoned. I didn't even recognize the places I had been before until gradually I started to realize, hey, I've been here before. And so this went on for a couple hours, actually lost in hell. I became so unnerved by being lost in hell and wandering around this bleak landscape in hell that I quit the game and got up from my couch and went to the study immediately. Within 60 seconds of quitting the game and being lost in hell, I had a spiritual awakening. You cannot pay me enough money to convince me that that was an accident. With all due respect to the yogi, and maybe that is possible, but that is not the case in my situation. Whoever choreographed this for me, my higher self, my spirit guides, God, Jesus, the goddess Kundalini, whoever orchestrated and choreographed this, allowed it to be so that my wife did not check in on me for 5 hours, and so that I had this, what a friend of mine calls a confirming metaphor of being lost in hell and then having a spiritual awakening immediately afterwards. So that is my story. I give this to you now. If you've had a Kundalini awakening, maybe you'll find this valuable in some way. If you haven't, maybe you'll still find it valuable in some way. Some people had asked about my spiritual experiences. So I give this to you as one of my spiritual experiences. At that point, it was my most powerful spiritual experience. And it may still be. I've had some other stuff happen since then that have been pretty incredible, and I'll get to that in a future video. Assuming anybody clicks on this, I don't know how many people are interested in my spiritual experiences. So if you are interested in this type of material and want to hear more of my own experiences, please hit a like, big thumbs up. That'd be awesome. Please share this so other people can see it and we can get the word out about what's going on this channel. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you do, please hit the bell next to it to be notified of future videos. And until next time, Cosmic Road out.